Yeah, just move the whole hair a little closer.
Yeah. Maybe those might have to be closed.
Long one. Right here. Long one.
Where?
That was put.
Oh,
Yeah, slide it a little bit toward me. Less toward the blast than that. There you go. Now you can see both of it. There you go. You can move it. You can do whatever you gotta do.
No.
He's doing it. Can you move this like a tad closer? There you go.
With everyone watching, you get to enjoy our new setup for a temporary setup.
Yeah. You're moving around a lot. You have quotes for what?
I have quotes for both.
Okay, I got quotes for both. Well, I have quotes for the first one. I have quotes for opinions. I'll do opinions, you can do the other ones. Or you just want to throw your quote in this one. So you got Bible verse for second one?
I know.
Okay, I have Bible verse for first one.
That or should I set like a pellet under it or something? Should I put this crate under?
Yeah.
Raise it up a little bit.
Yeah, take the fan down and put the.
First, like, 10 minutes of making some videos, figuring this out.
Yeah, that's better. I'd push it up there. We look like we're in Florida. Alright, we gotta record quick. Hi, I'm Austin Erzum.
I'm Taylor Patton. I'm just tasting her freaking legs.
It's weird. I got this thing on, so it's even more weird.
What do you think, though? Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, that looks like we're in Florida. Let's hope you can hear us.
Right. I might just speak up a little bit, because I don't know how it's going to sound on there.
We'll just talk loud.
Can we try again? Just make sure.
It was just good.
Was this good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, that's good. Alright, you ready?
Fine. We'll figure it out on the way, I guess.
We don't have our board.
I know. I was already like 3/4 way here, and I was like, frick.
Alright, we don't need it. We know it.
Yeah.
On the fly, everybody watching, which is currently nobody early. Alright, here we go.
Ready?
Hi, I'm Austin Erzum.
And I'm Taylor Patton. Welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast.
We're going to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, sharing our stories, helping you get 1% better in all areas of your life. Welcome to episode number 58. We're here talking about feedback. We got a recording at a new time. We got a new place. All sorts of stuff going on. It looks like we're in Florida, but we're not. A little bit of new scene. If you guys want to check out the YouTube channel, and we're on there. Anyways, if you guys didn't know, we moved out of our apartment and are living separately right now. Well, probably forever, actually. Next stage of our life, but we're still trying to bring you guys the best content that we possibly can. News from last week. Really nothing except that we moved, and I'll be honest, we don't have the board. We forgot it. So minor difficulties on our end, but I don't remember the challenge from last week. And I don't know if Taylor does either. So
I don't either, honestly.
So we're gonna say we failed in that, but hopefully next week will be a little bit better. I'll look it up here. Maybe we have it on here. Talked about values. Oh, to write down your values. I didn't really write them down, but I did think a lot about them in terms of what's important to me and if I'm living out those values to the fullest. And I talked a lot about steps to do that, or I thought a lot about the steps to do that this week. And I'll get into that when we talk about more feedback stuff. That is the point of this episode. Feedback in relationships, feedback in our everyday lives, and how we can better ourselves and get that 1% better. Quote of the week this week is going to be by Bill Gates, who's one of the richest men in the world.
I want to see, because I wrote a quote by Bill Gates for this one too.
Really?
Yeah.
I said, or he said, we all need people who give us feedback. That's how we improve.
That's the one I wrote down.
All right, see, great minds think alike. We're on the same page here. So I think the problem, I'm guessing you wrote it for the same reason. I think that people in society, they look at feedback and they're like, people are bashing me, or they think that they're not doing good. Yeah. Whereas if we really would get over ourselves, which is what I need to do for why I was thinking about feedback and values this week, is we got to get over ourselves and go on a step-by-step process and know that people hopefully are trying to think from the outside of looking in what might be the best for us, or what might be the best for the company or the relationship, and that's how you get better. If you never reflect, you never think, you never get feedback, you have no idea what's going on or how you can improve in your endeavor.
Yeah, feedback is how you improve. Like, your body tells you when you're hungry, when you're tired, when you feel bloated, and when you feel unhealthy. Like, your body tells you. That's feedback from your body, and that's like your body gives you feedback, and that to help you improve your own body. So why would you not accept outsource help to make you better as a whole person in general, rather that coming from your family, your spouse, your coworkers? It's just a different perspective upon life, and that just to help people get better. And it's a wonderful tool that people struggle with on both ends of the stick, receiving feedback and giving feedback. Like working with juvenile delinquents, like that's literally like what we do, is like give feedback to each other and to kids. When I first started, sucked at it. Was not good at giving feedback to kids or my coworkers. And so it's something I had to like learn and force myself outside my comfort zone to change, to improve upon. And at the end of the day, it just makes you a better, well-rounded person when you're able to immediately like give that feedback for the person that's either doing something incorrectly or just doing something a little differently that could help improve them.
Yeah, or it could be like you're doing it right, you're doing it well, and they just need to know that.
That's true too.
So either way, I think it's a good way to help a person move forward in either direction, whether it's to get better or it's to continue doing what they're doing. I feel the same way in teaching. I used to suck at giving. Well, I'm still not great at it because I don't put a ton of time into it. But if I would put a lot of time into it, it's nice to see how kids hand stuff in and look it over. But I used to just like say like, hey, what's going on? And somebody would raise their hand and tell me, like I'd ask a question. And now it's more like, okay, talk at your table group, and then I listen to them or eavesdrop on their conversation. So I know that people who don't speak out loud in front of the whole class still know what's going on or are paying attention. So that's the way I've grown in feedback for school. Bible verse this week, gotta praise the Lord every week. Another interesting thing, it's Proverbs 1:5. A wise man will hear an increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire a wise counsel. So to me, there's two big words in there, learning and will acquire a wise counsel. So I think you got to have people around. If you're the smartest person in the room, sometimes it's smart to get out of the room. It's hard to get feedback from people that you feel you are superior to, which is also another bad thing. But I think in general, the more people around you who can give you feedback and there's consistent feedback, the better it will be. So I think that's important, and we should always be learning. That's what the point of feedback is, to have learning. If you can have that from 2,000 years ago, then yeah. I think we can continue that today.
That's why like the 5 people around you are so important, and like your circle is so important, and that's that wise counsel that I'm talking about, because most likely those are the people that you're seeking advice from, you're seeking feedback from, most often, most frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're aligning with you to help you get better, then ultimately like it just works out for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. What else works out for everybody is, speaking of feedback too, get your Vitargo and let me know how you feel after you take Vitargo a couple of days later. I'll be honest, I did like a new cycle this week for working out, and I put it on Instagram, and I took Vitargo, and well, one, I like got sick during the week, and I don't really know why. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I'd never had stomach cramps so bad I thought I was gonna die. Anyways, I didn't throw up or anything though. I just dry heaved, but it was quite the night. So that recovery day was really low. But besides that, I've been taking Vitargo, and my recovery has been like 80, 90, 95. It's been wild. And I was after taking a couple weeks off and not having Vitargo, or really even like protein and stuff like that as much. So I'm back in the swing of things. Vitargo helps. Take it, get some feedback, help your body. We'll be back after the break. All right, the definition of feedback is information about reactions to a product, person's performance of a task, which is used as a basis for improving. Okay? Or it's just a screeching, humming sound from a return from a microphone and stuff like that. But we're going to be talking about the first definition for the most part. All right. Constructive criticism. Do you get that at work a lot, or do you give it at work? What's your take on constructive criticism?
Yeah, that I give it a lot more now than I get it, and that just kind of in the role we're in, and that my partner and I usually give each other feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and that more than outside sources, and that one thing is like I feel like constructive criticism is like when you receive it, it's not like an attack upon you.
Yeah.
And like, because I know I feel that way sometimes, like it's an attack upon me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And normally
Take it personal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And normally it's not that. It's just a behavior that you're doing. It's
Yeah.
the same way like when we address kids, like it's constructive criticism for them to be successful.
Yeah.
And so it's like crazy to like how like you view someone else and giving constructive criticism to someone versus receiving it.
Yeah, in my one of my sports psychology classes right now, we're talking about like retirement or an injury. For instance, Prince Fielder, who's a baseball player, he had to have neck surgery, and basically they told him, hey, you can't ever play in the MLB again. And they showed us his press conference when he said that, and he's obviously very emotional. And one of the questions we had to answer is why that is important. Why is he feeling the way he's feeling and so emotional? And it's because he feels like a loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
That him as a person is missing something. And same when athletes get injured. It's like, for instance, my hip right now, it's not even to the point of wanting to be able to play sports, just the point of, can I just work out healthy?
Mm-hmm.
So the feedback you get is like, you're no longer the person you once were. Your personality, you're gone, right? But really, it's just a temporary change. It's not the human being. It's just a temporary change in your behavior or what you're able to do. And a lot of times we forget about that, or we associate ourselves with being able to do something. And then when we don't get the feedback we want, it's like, oh, they're attacking me as a person, as my character, not a, hey, you know what, you can do this part better, not that you're a bad person. So I think a lot of it is your ego, or societal thought of who you are as a person. That's something that can be very touchy, in my opinion. I think that's why a lot of us, including ourselves, are not good at feedback sometimes, because we take it as our ego is too big and they don't know what they're talking about, right? Instead of just thinking like, okay, this is what this person thinks, how can I be better? That being said, though, I think it's okay to disagree with the advice that somebody gives you or the criticism that somebody gives you.
Absolutely. And like you just have to take it in account upon what someone says.
Yeah.
And I think it's
an opinion, but you don't have to. You can take it with a grain of salt. You don't have to value it. You can value it. It depends on probably who you're talking to also. Sometimes it's good to talk to somebody you just met or a counselor, or sometimes it's good to talk to somebody who you talk to every day, who knows you really well.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think if you, it just goes back to discernment. If you think about what they've said, again, if multiple people are saying the same thing, it might be something that you should attend to.
Yeah.
But obviously, in the end, you got to make the best decision for yourself.
Yeah. Like you can get like the feedback of like, like what the big like thing right now is like not having an electric car.
Mm-hmm.
And so like people can give you feedback on like, oh, you're like you hate the environment, like your car is not good for the environment. So then you look into it, run the numbers, and it's just not like smart for you to have an electric car.
Yeah, especially because most people it's not, because the price is just too high in the end. Like even if you pay for gas and stuff, it's still cheaper in the end. Like something I was weighing the other day is my car got all that hail damage, like I was saying, and weighing, do I get a new car or do I just try to fix my old car and keep it? And everybody's telling me that, I don't think anybody said to keep my car yet. But I think the best, the market's so high right now, I can't get my same car for the price that they're offering me. So I might as well fix it and keep my car for another 2 to 3 years and then get rid of it, where I can make a couple $1,000 hopefully now. And I can have the luxury of the car I want because I have heated seats, leather seats, sunroof, versus now if I get my same car, I'm just going to get the base version for the cost of it. So again, I value those things more, and I know that my car is safe, reliable. Like I've had it for 6 years, so I know I'm more comfortable in that car versus getting a new car. You have no idea, maybe a used one, so you have no idea who's owned it, what they've done to it, etc. So again, taking people's opinion and thinking about it, asking dealerships, asking body shops, can't think of the word, asking my parents, and then basically Steph and I have talked about it, and we think the most economic decision is to do the one we have and keep it for another 2 to 3 years and then get a new car.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking, like, look at all the feedback like you're like reaching out and trying to receive.
Yeah, and it has been helpful to like think of all the options. And my dad knows a lot more about cars than I do, just because he used to work at a dealership. He's bought in a lot of cars. His parents taught him how to negotiate and do all this other stuff. So it's been really helpful. But I would get a new car and listen to like I said earlier, if everybody's saying you should probably do it. But in this case, I don't think anybody's been in the shoes that Steph and I are in, because we got to get her a new car. We just don't have enough money to do all that, right? Yeah. But if I get a used car that I downgrade, I get an older car, then it's even like, sure, I pocket a bunch of money, but how long is that car going to last? And it's older, and Dad said to not go down in years.
Yeah.
So then it's like you can't do both because the market's so high. So there's no win there. So I might as well just keep my car and go from there. And that's also the least amount of work, is just to keep my car.
Yeah.
So I think it's weighing all the options, getting the feedback. I can make an informed decision. And it's a decision. I think in feedback, you have to make a decision you can live with. So I can live with that one. One of the questions I wrote down is, how do you know, like I just gave a full story, how do you know the story is right? Like your decision is right, I guess.
How do you?
Like you get feedback from people?
Yeah.
So like in my instance, the car, like how do I know, like how am I okay with my decision? Like, you know what I mean?
At the end of the day, it's like what you said, it's like when you live with it. If you can't live with it, then it's probably not the right decision. It's like having like a gut sense. and that because in the end, you don't really know.
Yeah,
you don't know what's gonna happen if you sold your car to the insurance company and got all your money and then went out and bought a new car. You don't know what's gonna happen, or you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of what ifs. So it's kind of like you got to pick a decision and go.
Yeah, and
I can't really
you can't see the future.
Yeah.
I think life. I wrote this down yesterday in my journal because I was listening to the podcast, which I think we should do a podcast series about other podcasts, like every once in a while. Like just talk about the podcasts we've been listening to, and like I mean, obviously we're not a huge podcast, but like give other people the light so they can go listen to them too.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great episode. But anyways, I was listening to the episode with Joe Rogan, not that he needs more viewers, and Mark Zuckerberg, and I wrote down like, wow, he's so ahead of the game that we don't even understand. And after he went on, Facebook went up in stocks, which I want him to ask if he cares about his stock or not. But anyways, he's just so into stuff. He doesn't care about like what the other world's doing, the other society. He just does whatever.
Yeah.
He gets feedback from people.
Yeah.
And then he makes decisions, right? That's what he does. But I was thinking, everything he's doing is such a big risk, like with the metaverse, and he's trying to make sunglasses that you just put on your sunglasses and you go into virtual reality.
Yeah.
It's not like this big Oculus that we got right now, right? So basically, by the end, he thinks that people can put a chip in their brain, like in their head, that can make them like switch to the Web 3, Web 4, whatever you want to say it is. But he says people won't sign up for that in our lifetime. But he's saying eventually, like that could happen, and the glasses are going to be there in our lifetime.
Yeah.
How much risk he's taking, and like everything we do, we don't know. So really, we're betting. Like I have a lot of Meta stock, and then they tanked. That's a huge risk on my part to put more money into their company.
Yeah.
So like if you believe in what's going on, like you always bet on yourself, and so far it hasn't paid off, but hopefully someday it will. And if it doesn't, then at least you know you went down with the swing.
Yeah.
So I think that's important as well when you're thinking about feedback, because people don't know the shoes you're in.
Yeah.
You do though.
Yeah.
So I thought that was important.
I think inevitably will be in a society so where it's indistinguishable between like the metaverse and
he did talk about like how he is a little more into the
connection.
Yeah, like the physical connection matters still.
That's the whole reason why he made Facebook.
Yeah, and he wants to, a lot of people are talking about how if you're on social media and you're just consuming, that's not good for humans.
Yeah.
But if you're on social media and you're creating and you're listening, you're getting feedback, you're connecting, and you're doing some sort of, I guess, promise in the world or helping the world, then it's worth having these futuristic ideas. So he thinks that there's going to be some things that stay physical. Like for instance, you can't sit in a chair in the metaverse, right? So there's things that you need to have that are physical. He talked about physical touch, and he talked about conversations like face to face with people or seeing them, because you remember things based on your social life. So he said that stuff needs to stay physical, but instead of like artwork, it'd be a hologram instead of being physical artwork. Like we don't need that to see physically. You can see that virtually or whatever it might be. And most people, like you take the TV stuff the electronics that they do, 50% of people spend that watching TV still, not on Facebook or TikTok or whatever it might be. Their phones or the other thing, or listening to music, all that kind of stuff. The most is still watching TV. So he's saying like if people can be in the metaverse but do something active, then that's still helping society.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you watch TV and you work out, or you do something, you're connecting virtually or doing a podcast, whatever it might be, that's still making a difference in the world. Anyways, talk about building and connecting. How do you think feedback builds relationships?
I can build relationships by how, like, if you're giving feedback to like a friend, and that builds that relationship because now you have stronger communication.
Yeah.
And that if you don't like that, your friend shows up late to hanging out or whatever.
Mhm.
Like that feedback, like automatically, then that gives two people more information based on the feedback you're given. So honestly, it may say stronger. Like if you are a time management person and you need to be at different places at different times, and someone shows up 30 minutes late and that has to push you back half an hour late, that's feedback you have to give, because that until like just makes you.
So how do you approach that? Do you blow up at them, or you?
No. If you're yelling at someone, it's automatically not positive. Like no one receives yelling at positively.
Yes, body language and
like they might
voice
change
tone matters.
they might change behavior, but at the end of the day, like that's not a positive way to get feedback.
Yes, you're saying you're not gonna build a relationship by attack. That's more of an attack, I would say.
Yelling at someone, yelling at people will never be a great form of communication.
What if
like I learned at work. I'm not a yeller. I will never yell.
Yeah.
Or very few times I will get loud.
Yeah.
It's just who I am. But there's people at work that can yell, where like kids respond.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a response, not a relationship building.
Yeah, I would agree for 80% of that. I think there is a 20% of the population who I don't want to say like gets turned on by that, but like responds better. Like if you yell at them like you suck, like get in the game, like what are you doing? And people like respond like, okay, I'll show you, and that's how they build, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's some people who like that, but I would say I'm the same. 80% no, don't like that.
Yeah. And there's 7 billion people in the world. I'm pretty sure there's at least a few that like getting yelled at.
Yeah, I mean, there's always I also think that you should have feedback in if your job, like I think a good interview question is how I receive feedback, or can I give you feedback as my boss?
Mm-hmm. And
if they say like they don't do that, to me that's a red flag right away.
Yeah.
And it's something that I feel like never gets asked. I've never been asked that in an interview.
That's how you got my spot as a VSS member.
You said you asked that or what?
Yeah. Well, I was like that intern. Like I wanted to give more feedback,
mm-hmm.
and because I'd be able to see more like I don't want to say third eye, but like I'd be able to have more of a background picture on how things run
mm-hmm.
through a dorm, like by not being attached to that dorm, and so I'd be able to give more feedback based on how behaviors more than emotions. And so then in turn they asked me to give them feedback.
Yeah.
I had to give them feedback. So that's crazy you asked that though.
Yeah, I mean a lot of job descriptions say be willing to give feedback to like the kids, or be willing to give feedback, or all that kind of stuff, but it never comes up. It comes up like once or twice a year, I feel like, in a review.
Yeah.
It's never
a day-to-day.
Yeah, which I understand that's more time and effort, but if it's 2 minutes a day, even if you're just reflecting, I think that's important.
Yeah.
And again, it's what's important to the company you're in or the relationship you're in, but you should constantly be, I think another word that comes to mind is awareness.
Yeah.
If you're constantly aware and reflecting over what's going right or wrong, like just moving. So now I live with my fiance, and the changes that have gone are a lot more than maybe we realize.
Mm-hmm.
And how it might go, and we're setting, I guess, a standard for the rest of our lives, and that's a big deal, but we don't think of it as that.
Yeah, that's a great word. It's like standard. Like you set a standard, and when we're talking about building relationships, like if you have a standard for yourself and for another person, and that normally people will meet the standard.
Yeah. And
that if they want to have a relationship with you.
Yeah.
If not, then hey, more power to you. Like, no skin off my back, I guess. And like also like I was gonna say, like having a standard also just shows that you have enough respect to say for another person and for yourself.
Yeah, one of the things I was gonna say is, so there's 3 bedrooms in this apartment. So the person who owns the house obviously has a bedroom, and then Steph and I each have our own bed in our own bedroom, and we live together. But we said we're not gonna sleep in the same bed until we're married. So we sleep separately in our own rooms every night. So far, so good. So it's been quite interesting. But again, it's like the standard that you were talking about.
So how at work, how we give feedback to each other is like there's like the 7 conditions of feedback,
Okay.
and I'm
Yeah.
just gonna run you through them.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So when giving feedback is give immediately, like staying present. Like if you give feedback, you can't like giving feedback for something that happened between 2 weeks ago
Might not
isn't really like
relevant at
Yes.
that point. Yeah, one of the things the last thing I wrote was be specific in your questions or your feedback. So obviously present's a good idea.
wanted, and that so like being open to feedback, with empathy.
Yeah.
So like
empathy is
understanding
key.
perspective.
I've learned that in my psychology class too.
Specific.
There it is.
Yeah. And especially like the more specific it is, the more able someone else is to change something. Like if you go in cussing at your partner,
Mhm.
and they say, hey, like I don't like being cussed at, that's specific. And then it's changeable. So like saying like, hey, like why are you so short? Or why do you have red hair?
Mhm.
Like that's not really changeable.
Yeah.
Like having a long neck.
Mhm.
Like, that's not changeable. But hey,
Good one.
hey, I don't like the way you walk in the room and yell at the whole group, getting the whole group stirred up. That's change.
When you give feedback, do you give an alternative method too?
That's
the next one? Gosh, I'm good.
That's literally the next one. And then the last is check for accuracy.
Yeah, so back to the point. I like that 7 lists. Those are all really good things, and it builds upon like you hit all the boxes. I feel like.
Yeah.
But what I was saying, like I didn't know it, but usually what people do on podcasts, like if they know the next thing, they'll like hint at it or like ask a question about it, and then they'll talk about it even though it's like a rhetorical question.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that great podcasting there. I feel like I just have to toot my own horn a little bit there. That was good. What do you think? Actually, you know what? We're talking about it on the 1440 for those. So I think that would be good on the 1440. We're going to let people go now. They're probably at their job or whatever, or getting done with their workout. Challenge for this week is to give somebody proper feedback one time.
I like it.
So use those seven things to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're not giving feedback, you're probably going to get feedback, and we'll talk on the 1440 about some places we've seen feedback this week as well. But try to give or get feedback in a proper manner, whatever that looks like to you in your life during this next week.
I like it.
All right, and we'll catch you guys on the 1440 with some ways to help with feedback again. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks for tuning in. Love you. Bye.